Hi, how's it going? This is Resident of Collinwood for YouTube, back with another Dark Shadows video for you guys and gals. I'm here to continue my journey into parallel time with episode 1210. Um, I will say this, that this episode, there's a lot that goes on here. And I know that it sounds like every DS episode, but this episode really is something special. And I'll get into why here in a moment. First of all, the narration, the voiceover is done by Laura Parker, who she's playing Catherine in this arc. Catherine is in this episode. Like I said before, the voiceover is usually done by somebody who's in the episode. So, hence Catherine. Laura plays Catherine. She does the voiceover. This episode starts off where the other one left off, the seance that to contact Brutus Collins to find out about the cursed room. Um, so, conducting this seance, once again, for those who didn't watch the last video, Quentin, who led the charge to conduct this seance and who's been trying to find out anything he can about that room, Flora Collins, Quentin's mother, and Melanie, who's possessed, and they know she a ghost has been possessing her, and they know she's been getting possessed. So they have the seance to contact Brutus Collins. The only problem is Brutus Collins went a little something like this. I'm sorry, I'm not able to answer your seance right now. Please leave a message and I will never get back to you again. No, he doesn't say that at all, but they don't contact Brutus, but they do contact the woman who's possessing Melanie. Um, and she says, lottery, must have the lottery, or there will be death, there will be the plague, sickness. And Quentin says, are you talking about the Black Plague? And he tells Flora that hasn't been around since the Middle Ages. The seance ends, and you see, after this, you see upstairs that Catherine and Morgan are talking, and Catherine wants to have kids. This is my only issue with this episode here is the line that Morgan's about to look. Oh well, I don't. We can't have kids because of the law. He doesn't want to. So your plan was to just marry Catherine just so Bramwell couldn't have her, and now you don't want kids when Catherine already knows about the locker room. Now she doesn't believe in it, but by the way, in the very next episode, guess who's gonna take part in the lottery? Catherine. Well, all the women are, but still, I just feel this line just makes no sense. I just it doesn't. Not just because I'm wrong about Keith Prentice's character not wanting kids. It just doesn't fit. It did not seem to. It's like okay, so you don't want kids, so the lottery can't continue. It doesn't really add up here, other than it just felt like the writers were trying to give Morgan some redemption here in some case that he didn't, because he doesn't want this to keep going on. My only issue with this line is one big one. Keith Prentice has done nothing. Keith Prentice's character Morgan has done nothing to look into the locker room the way Quentin has, and by the way, neither has Bramwell. Um, and I get they're more part of the love triangle, but I just feel, if they knew that Keith Prentice was your, antagonist, that Morgan's your antagonist. Well, if Morgan's your antagonist, then just get it over with and make him your antagonist. I'm not, I'm a patient person, and I'm not saying they're wrong for dragging it out, but God, um, I guess I'm complaining. Now, one of my favorite things in this episode, and no, it's not the letter that Catherine finds from Bramwell. Morgan gets all jealous. Now, By the end of this episode, Melanie ends up with the plague, which that's going to be the reason they have the lottery in the next episode, by the way. In this episode, Quentin is going through the Collins family history book. Yep, you heard that right. The Collins family history book. And guess what, folks? He's looking for if anybody had the Black Plague. And yes, they did in 1680. So, I said this episode's important. Here's the many reasons it's important. Number one, obviously, the setup for the next episode is by the end of this episode, Melanie getting sick. Melanie getting the plague. By the way, Melanie has a dream that she dies and they burn her body. Great sequence, by the way. Not that they burn her body. I'm just saying the dream sequence is great. Number two, the Collins family history book actually being used as an accurate pinpoint. I'm not saying that wasn't done in the original timeline. It's certainly, when they looked up family members, they looked into the Collins family history book. Here's the beautiful part. If you really want to distinguish this timeline, this exact timeline, from the timeline that we love and know, you have to look at how they use the Collins family history book and their reliance on it compared to the lack of reliance on it in our timeline. In the original timeline that we love and know, the Collins family history book had a 50-50 shot at being accurate. Or to use Scott Steiner's math, 33 and a third. It did have its accuracies, but when you're getting into family history and you want to know important events, your family history should probably be a lot more accurate than, well, 30% or hell, even 50. It should probably be more close to like 80 or 90. It wasn't really, though, in the timeline we love and know, but that's what made it great. It's like, well, there's a lot of lying in that history book. In this, not so much the case. There is the truth. There is when the Black Plague struck. So this Collins family history book is accurate, or at least accurate enough that they're getting solid information out of it. And that's what makes it so special. For really, and I'm not saying the Collins family history book was completely inaccurate in the timeline we know. I'll get into where it was accurate. But here, when Quentin's looking in the Collins family history book, he reads about a tooth getting pulled, and Morgan's just yelling at him. He's like, "What are you doing? This is pointless. It's hopeless." And Quentin goes, "Here you go. Here's the Black Plague." So this Collins family history book is very, very accurate, probably in the 100 percentile range. So what were the accurate moments in the alternate in the timeline we know? Well, Quentin going to Paris. Turns out Quentin really did go to Paris. Now you can debate that Barnabas going back in time interfered with all that. Yeah, probably. Josette jumping from Widow's Hill is accurate, though in the beginning episodes, Josette's death is printed as wrong, so there is that, or at least the Josette we love enough. Though the one that's the ghost, the one that died in 1790, she in the 1790s. Sarah's death is actually recorded, so that's accurate. Naomi's death is recorded, but they record her death that she died way, way, way later. That she died after, well after everybody else. She died during 1790 arc, the 1795 arc. So, the Collins family and its history book is, in the timeline we love and know, is not the best thing to quote. Hell, even Dr. Julia Hoffman says it. But in the parallel time universe of 1841, my friends, it absolutely is. And for many reason it needed to be. I mean, what the Dark Shadows writers did here was very, very smart. They looked at it and said, "Hey, we've really sort of made fun of the history book by having it be wrong. What if it were right? And why not, right? Why not do that?" And they did. I really love David Selby's Quentin Collins here because, as my buddy Patrick McCray has pointed out, he is this arc's protagonist, and in every way, shape, and form, he is built as its protagonist, not Bramwell. No offense to the late great Jonathan Frid, and no offense to Laura Parker's character. David Selby is Quentin is just billed as this arc's protagonist. I mean, I'm not saying there are other characters who aren't doing stuff. Flores finally starting to pitch in. By the way, in the next episode, which I'm going to do tomorrow night, somebody comes back. it's Julia Collins. So it's really interesting the fact that the Collins family history book is used as accurate here, and it is accurate. You have the argument between, oh God, Morgan and Catherine. And I really like the fact that when Melanie goes to her room and she's laying down, I really like how they get her that she's sick. She's just sick. This goes to show you that whatever happened in that room is not bullshit. No offense to Catherine. Remember, Catherine doesn't believe in the room. Why should she? Why? This is the beautiful thing when you get into horror or get into suspense and horror. When you get into belief, should every character believe in a legend or a myth? Absolutely not. Me, Mark Gilman, and Daniel Culver talked about this with Friday the 13th Part 2. Why should Paul believe in Jason? He's just a myth. He's just a legend. And that probably includes the drowning, in all due respect. I mean, did or didn't he drown? The inaccuracy of Friday the 13th story of Jason is one of the most unique aspects of the franchise. With Dark Shadows, you have a myth and a legend that's been built up in town. Catherine recently learned, not too terribly long ago, that it's true that if you go in, we do have a lottery to see who goes into that room, and this is what happens. She does not believe that is what happened. She just believes that they're so superstitious about this whole thing that it's subconsciously they're causing it to happen, which is interesting, which makes her character all the more likable. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I'm sorry this is a tad short. I'll be back later tonight as soon as I get my kids to sleep, as my daughter is saying. You guys have a great night. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.